decades of music. Well, I counted 6.
At the moment, it feels like 6. Yeah.
Longevity.
Yes.
How have you managed to do that?
Longevity. How have I done it? Probably not being in one part of the business for too long. I've been, as you probably are aware, I've moved from being an artist in my own right to being a producer to being a songwriter. And that's kind of kept me, if you like, out the loop and in the loop.
My sister Nolene was speaking to me the other day, and she said that she had one of your albums in the 70s.
Yeah.
And she said, well, say hello to Barry for me. I said, okay, what, do you know him? She said, no, I don't know him. She said, but I used to sing all his songs into a hairbrush, looking in a mirror while getting ready to go to work. So you must have made an impression.
Well, I hope so. Usually I get now, oh, my granny knows you. She knows all your songs. So slightly different.
I did see a video of you singing that song, Do You Want to Dance, earlier in the week. The reason why I looked at the video was I had these sort of vivid memories from when I was a kid watching you on Top of the Pops. And the thing that struck me was the fashion.
Oh, dear.
Who on earth was the stylist?
Well, you see, that was the glam rock era. And for those of us who remember the glam rock era, which was sort of the early 70s, you'd get, you'd get Bowie, you'd get T-Rex. You know, we all used to dress up in this kind of overblown, frilly kind of look with platform shoes, and it really has dated, hasn't it?
One of my questions to you was, how on earth did you stand up in those platform shoes?
Very, very, very difficult, yeah.
I remember the first pair that I got, my mum bought me them, I think about 72, 73. I bought them from Frida Hardy and Willis.
That's right. Yeah.
And I tried them on, I can remember, and fell over going out of the door.
Well, you can imagine dancing on them.
Pretty difficult.
I remember I did a TV show on these platform soles were about 4 inches, 5 inches, and I was standing. They put me on a piano, and of course the song ended. Everyone drifted off and left me standing on the piano. There was no way for me to get down until they brought a ladder. I had to climb down the piano. Yeah, they weren't the most comfortable or practical things to wear.
Speaking of TV, what was Top of the Pops like to do? It's going there as an artist.
That was manic.
Yeah?
It was manic. It was a good thrill, you know, to get on Top of the Pops. Was, you know, you felt like you'd arrived. You felt like people were listening to your records and buying your records. So it did feel good. But it got a bit unionistic towards the end of the run, where, you know, they used to say you got to do your song in 2 hours. You know, recreate something that took you a week or 2 weeks to do. You got to recreate that in 2 hours because, you know, that's the way we want to do it these days. And that was getting tough.
I'd imagine it was good fun in the green room, though, wasn't it? With some of the artists, they all seemed to be so crazy in those days.
I can't remember what colour the room might have been: green, yellow, blue. I can't remember.
Oh dear. Well, look, going back to like the beginning, more or less. I was thinking that you were born in 1950.
Ouch.
And yeah, ouch. I'm in 62, and that's an ouch for me. But anyway, what did Mum and Dad think about you trying to, you know, follow in a music career? Did they not say to you, "Oh no, Barry, you've got to get a proper job"?
Not really. I had a strange upbringing because my father passed away when I was quite young. I was 3, so my mother brought me up. And my mother was very arty, and she used to say to me, "Just do what you want, darling. If that's how you feel.
That's great.
If you feel creative, then create."
Yeah, that sort of encouragement from your parents is very important.
Yeah, it is. And so and then my sister married a songwriter, and he used to write at home, and he was a lyricist, and he used to say, "Can you write some chords for this?" And I was started to play guitar about 6 or 7, and then that's how I learned how to play the guitar. I mean, I've never been terribly proficient. I don't read music, but I do know how things should work out in terms of how a song should go, and so it's a good grounding, really.
That was lovely. Yeah, that relationship with your mother like that. That was really good. Yeah, really good. Children's talent shows, that's where it all got going for you, wasn't it? Yeah,
we were at school. There's a school band I had, and it was called the Dark Knights. The reason being is that the drummer, his surname was Knight, and his dad had the post office van. So the only way I could join the band is if I agreed for them to be called the Dark Knights. And, his dad used to manage us. And anyway, we entered a competition at the time. It was called Stubby K's Silver Star Show. And Stubby K was a very famous American actor in Guys and Dolls. And for some reason, they did a kids show up north in Granada. And we entered it, and we passed the audition. We went up, we took all our kit up in the post office van, and it went well. We were on it for 6 weeks until the headmaster saw us, because the school's programs used to come on. They used to finish about 4:30, and this program came on 4:45. And one day, he said, "Who's that on the TV?" And apparently I was on TV playing the guitar. And he said, "You're supposed to be in school, isn't he? Isn't that..." My real name's Green. I'm sure you know that. He said, "Isn't that Barry Green? Get his mother on." What's going on?
What, so you were told off for playing truant or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
That's quite amusing. That.
Yeah.
That's where you met Norrie Paramore, is that right?
Norrie Paramore, yeah. I got... my mother got a call from a young fella, and he said... I work for Norrie Paramore. You don't know who he is, but he manages and produces The Shadows and Cliff Richard. And we heard your son's band, and we like the sound of them. And could he come to an audition? And she said, "Well, where is the audition?" He said, "It's only in Marylebone," which was convenient because I wasn't living far away. And she said, "Okay, what's your name?" And he said, "My name's Tim Rice." So Tim Rice used to work for Norrie, and that's where I first met him when I was 14, 15, and he was, not that much older than me. So, and then I did the audition. That was another story.
Shame you never went on to better things, eh?
Yeah, there you go.
So in 1966, your music apprenticeship continues with a job in A&R, Abigail Music, under the direction of Bee Gees manager Robert Stigwood. What's your memories of Robert Stigwood?
Well, the memories of getting the job was interesting because I was sitting in a coffee bar. 1966, I was playing in a group in the evenings called Spice. And anyone who follows my career will know that Spice then became Uriah Heep about 6 months later. But anyway, I was in this heavy rock band sitting in the Gioconda, which is a coffee bar in Denmark Street. Sitting next to me was a guy, and he says, "I just went for a great job. I didn't get it." I said, "Well, what was it for?" He said, "I wanted to work for the Bee Gees because I know they're looking for someone just to sweep up the studio and do all that." And I don't know, for some reason I didn't get it. Well, I quickly put my coffee cup down, ran outside, worked out where Robert Stigwood's office was, went up, knocked on the door and said, "I'm here for the job." And they said, "What job?" "There's a job that's going off in the studios where you wash up and you clean up and you do stuff." "Oh, yeah. That you just come on that job, didn't it?" "Okay, well, that's where you start. Have you been to HR and sorted out how much you're going to get paid?" And that's how I got the job.
So getting your foot in the door there.
Seriously.
That was using your initiative.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But it certainly helped you with your career, yeah. A record deal with Decca followed in 1970. What are your memories of that?
In those days, they didn't have anything other than passing an audition. And I suppose at the time I kind of was trying to get my foot in the door to be a producer rather than an artist. I wasn't terribly keen on being an artist. But someone said to me, "Why don't you go for these auditions? They're in West Hampstead at the Decca Studios. What you have to do is you have to go in there and pretend you're doing the Jimmy Young Show, which was a very well-known radio show back in the day." So you go in there with your 3 songs, and you did an audition with 60-piece orchestra.
That's
and
amazing.
it was quite hard to do, I tell you. It was something that I can't see many people doing these days. But I passed the audition, made 3 records for them. None of them were particularly big hits, but they got my foot in the door again, to go on to better things and meet different people.
Well, that sounds an incredible experience. It must have been quite nervy, actually.
Very nervy, yeah.
Very nervy. Yeah. Like maybe on an audition basis, nervy anyway. And then to sing with an orchestra that you hadn't sung with before.
I didn't even know what a piccolo was. Yeah. No idea.
I've still got no idea.
It was, but life's full of those experiences. Well, they were for me. I mean, I got a few lucky breaks and a lot of hard work. When they say 10,000 hours is what you need to do anything, excel in anything you do, I think I must have put in a good few more than 10,000.
So you got to deal with Decca.
Yeah.
And in 1970, you join a songwriting team at ATV in London, and this is where you meet Lindsay DePaul for the first time.
Yeah, Mad Lindsay, yeah.
Was she mad?
Oh, she was nutty as a fruitcake. And I loved her dearly. She was scatty, bright, feisty, just an amazing lady. She actually came through being a student at Hornsey Art College. She was an amazing artist. And she played a mean piano as well. And she used to play these tunes. Well, she used to play these little runs on the piano, and I used to sort of sit down and write a lyric over the top of it. And then I used to get my guitar, which was a 5-string, because I could never keep the top E string in tune. And we sat down and we wrote some really good little songs. We didn't know what to do with them because we weren't sort of saying we're going to be songwriters. But a couple of songs came out quite well. One of which became my first single on Decca, which is called Papa Do. And we got signed up by a guy called Don Kirshner. Don Kirshner was an American, and he'd had a lot of success with the Monkees. And he'd put together a band called the Archies with Sugar Sugar. I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember that, 69, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a very big song. And he wanted to do a kind of thing in the UK, which they had in America, called the Brill Building, where you had all the very famous songwriters like Lieber and Stoller, Carole King. They all used to sit in little cubicles and write songs all day. Mm. And he wanted to try and get that philosophy, that kind of songwriter academy thing going in the UK.
Probably a bit similar to Motown in some respects.
Yeah, it was. Very similar to Motown.
You had your first success really in the charts, like major success, with a top 10 hit with her, which you wrote, called Sugar Me.
Sugar Me, yes, that's right.
From there, a bit of a change for you. You were on a Decca label, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And you go to a new label, which is Bell, and a change of name. Where did that come from? So
my real name is Barry Green. And I'd put 3 records out. In fact, 4 records, because there was another one that I'd forgotten about until someone reminded me about 10 years ago that I put out in France. Anyway, I'd had these records out as Barry Green. Didn't much mean anything to anyone. I thought, okay, sit down on your hands for a minute and kind of work out where we go from here. Do I really want to be a singer? If I do, let me launch my career in a new way. So I decided on a name change was the first thing. I thought, well, all right, let's have something that's a bit more zingy. What about Barry Blue? And as soon as I hit on the name, and the first song we came up with was Dancing on a Saturday Night. We wrote that on Primrose Hill. And I went in and did the demo. And then the demo became the master. And then the master became the hit. So, again, we wrote it for someone else. Everyone rejected it. I ended up putting on a bouzouki, which is a Greek instrument, to give it a kind of, I wanted a kind of holiday flavour. And I think I'd seen the film Zorba the Greek, and that's kind of what made me want to do that Greek thing. So, again, it wasn't a kind of a major sort of campaign to get my career off the ground, to launch a major new artist. We didn't do those things in those days. You could make a record for 200 quid.
Yeah, amazing,
and
isn't it?
You didn't need to do marketing spend and video spends and this and that. You used to have a good record plugger, used to go around the BBC or wherever and say, look, this is a good little record.
Yeah, that's the way the industry used to work then, wasn't it?
It used
With
to
me
be
working
much.
in radio many years ago as well.
Yeah.
And oi, come on, play this.
That's exactly it. And it worked, but it wouldn't work now, but it did work in those days.
Well, this song that was a total success and got to number 2 in the charts, it certainly launched your career.
Yeah, damn that Donny Osmond.
Hey, little girl, get your dancing shoes. Your gold satin jacket and a silver
So that was the big song then, Barry, Dancing on a Saturday Night. It reached number 2 in the British charts.
It did.
Exciting times.
Yes, the only record that beat that was Donny Osmond singing.
Oh, don't say Puppy Love.
No, it wasn't that one.
Wasn't it?
No.
I can remember that time actually, that, like major artists like the Osmonds and David Cassidy and people like that coming from America.
Yeah.
Heathrow Airport would just be rammed with people waiting for them to arrive.
It was.
Well, as you go away from performance, which you decide to sort of leave behind a little bit, you move on to writing songs, and one of those was for Brotherhood of Man. Big song, Kiss Me, Kiss Your Baby. What's your memories of that? And Brotherhood of Man obviously went on to represent the UK in the Eurovision Song Contest, didn't they?
If someone says to me now, what's the biggest song you've ever written? The weird thing is, it's probably that one, and no one's ever heard of it. Because that song was a massive song in Europe. And it was the precursor to Save Your Kisses for Me. So it helped the band launch onto the Eurovision stage and also helped me, of course. So that kind of made me want to decide, if you like, to give up being an artist and maybe go more into the production and writing.
Well, that certainly moves on in the case of Heatwave, which is a band that you work with their first 2 albums. Which they were one of my favourite bands. I was probably 14 when their first album came out. I can remember going to a party and listening to Boogie Nights all night because at that time there was only probably 5 records at the party. So I certainly knew how to dance to that song by the time I'd left that party. But they were a massive band, weren't they, in the mid-70s, Heatwave?
My fondest memories were working with Rod Temperton, the songwriter. As you know, he wrote Boogie Nights, Always and Forever. And then he wrote Off the Wall and Thriller for Michael Jackson and Give Me the Night for George Benson. And he was a consummate songwriter, most brilliant songwriter. And I think
Could you see his
undervalued.
talents? Could you see his talents even working with him in sort of 77?
Oh, wow. I knew this guy was a genius songwriter, yeah. So that kind of made me want to work with Heatwave even more. Johnny Wilder was the lead
He had
singer.
an amazing voice, Johnny Wilder.
Keith Wilder was his brother. They were both ex-GIs from Germany. A very interesting band because it was multiracial, multinational. There was a Czechoslovakian drummer, a Swiss bass player. The guitarist was from New Zealand. The two boys, the Wilder brothers, were, as I say, American GIs, and Rod Temperton was from Grimsby.
Yeah. I did. Yeah, when he died sadly in 2016, I remember hearing an interview.
He had the most unstarry upbringing that you would ever imagine, and yet he wrote these amazing grooves, and I don't know where it came from. That is a real gift. Real gift.
Well, he certainly went on to better things with Michael Jackson and working with Quincy Jones.
Yeah.
And George Benson as well, who was an amazing artist at the time and still is. Boogie Nights, the song.
Yeah.
The beginning part is haunting, isn't it? It's that harp at the beginning. Yeah. Where did that come from? Was that your idea or their idea? Or
Well, Rod and I used to work very closely with arranging and ideas generally. And if you go back to some of my early songs, I always wanted to introduce an element that would catch the ear. So when you put it on the radio, you would say, oh, I know that because it's got a bouzouki in it. Or I know that song. Like in Sugar Me, we had a gypsy violin as the solo, which was really weird. And when it came to the beginning of Boogie Nights, it was in a kind of 6/8 time. It was a jazz feel. I don't know if it was me or Rod. It was the two of us. We said, we need something special on this. So we called in Carla Scanga, and she played this harp, and it's a killer intro.
Oh, it's a great intro to a song.
But in America, they took it off because America is very homogenized. America decides that that's either a soul record, that's a pop record, that's a record that's not for this radio station. So, of course, they didn't understand it at all. First of all, they didn't understand Heatwave because they were multiracial. So the black stations wouldn't play the record, the white stations wouldn't play the record.
It certainly caught the imagination of people because they go on to have other hits as well, one of which is, it's a double A-sided single, which is Always and Forever and Mind-Blowing Decisions. Two fantastic songs. And Johnny Wilder's voice.
I think Johnny Wilder and Always and Forever is one of the best vocal performances. And that was done We did it about probably 15, 16 times. And I said to Johnny, I said, number 2 is the one we're going to use. And he said, no, I can do it better. No, I can do it better. And he tried to excel, but he had the most soulful rendition really early on when he first heard the song. And it just tore your heartstrings. It tore at your heartstrings.
Lovely man, amazing singer. Something I wanted to talk to you about actually was George Michael's tapes. What are your memories of that? How did you let George Michael slip through your fingers?
Well, yeah, George Michael he was a local lad.
He went to Bushy Meads School,
He went to Bushy Meads, which I could walk to from where I live now. And
his dad, Jack, had a restaurant in Edgware called Jack's. And I used to go in quite a lot. But every time I went in, he would give me a cassette of his son, George.
you know, well, I heard the tracks. I heard some of the stuff, and I said to his dad, I said, Dad, yeah, it's great, Jack. I really like, there's a couple of songs there. Let me meet up with George. Does he work with anyone else? And he told me about Andrew and one thing and another. And they put the cassette at the time through my letterbox, and I listened to it, and it was on my desk. It was in my drawer, but in the meantime, it was in late 70s. I was doing so much stuff. I was in America. I was producing countless acts all over the world, and as I say, you can't see the wood for the trees. The biggest act I would have ever worked with was literally living about 500 yards from me.
And you were travelling all over the world. Can you remember what songs were on the demo?
Well, there was like early versions of Careless Whisper. I can vaguely remember, Wham Rap and stuff like that. And it was good. It needed work. It needed production. It needed, someone to come in and just take it and, work out how they're going to develop as an act. And to be honest, I didn't have the time. Yeah, I look back on it now and think, that was a mistake. But,
maybe that was an error. George Michael.
Maybe. But that's the funny thing. And I always put it down to, sometimes the nearest is the thing you should be working on, not something, 7,000 miles
Well, shame
away.
you never went on to bigger things. What do you think? Now, tell us about this new CD that you've got out, because you've decided to start performing again after all these years.
So these are songs that I've never given to anyone. Well, I shouldn't have given to anyone. Let's put it like that, because they're all very personal songs. Mm-hmm. Some of them I kept back. Some of them I never, let any other artist hear them. And some became successful. One of them was called Escaping, which Dina Carroll recorded. But I just thought, I've been in the business a long time. It would be nice to actually revisit some of those songs, re-record them in a really laid-back, not overblown, acoustic way. And it's developed into a really nice album. It's a box set of 3 CDs and a kind of edited version of an autobiography, which I've been writing for the last 20 years. So,
That sounds absolutely great. We wish you all the best for that. One of the tracks on it is, well, when I listened to it the other day, it sort of brought the hairs up on the back of my arm. It's the first time I heard it. Call My Name, it's called. There's a particular story behind this song.
Call My Name is one of those songs which I never actually gave to anyone else. I wrote it a long time ago. I wrote it when my eldest daughter was born. It was like the most important thing in my life, as it is with any parent. And I used to take her up to bed, and I used to sit and watch her for hours. I used to watch her breathing. I couldn't believe how important she was in my life. And so I wrote this song called Call My Name. And we grew up with the song. When my eldest daughter, became a bride, I rewrote the song and sung it at her wedding. And then when my next daughter became a bride, I rewrote the song again. I sang it at her wedding. And then about a year ago, my granddaughter said, Pa, that song you wrote 100 years ago? I said, what one was that? It was called Call My Name. I'd like to do something with it. I said, well, what do you mean? Well, you record it. And I said, okay. And then you'll hear it.
I remember he used to tell me stories about the Tooth Fairy and evil witches. I screamed, laughed and cried, but you would always tell me it wasn't real, Those times were very special.
I used to sit and watch you breathe while you were fast asleep. I liked to keep you safe and warm with secrets you would keep. But time has made a woman now, and nothing stays the same. We turn a few more pages, but one thing never changes. If time don't run away, if life stops dancing, you know that any day I'll be with you. Just call my name. I know you're sharing all your dreams with someone that you love. You know I hope they all come true, and all you're thinking of. But just in case clouds appear and you can't stand the rain, I'll be with you forever. We'll see it through together. If time don't run your way, and if life stops dancing, you know that in a day I'll be with you. Just call my name. Call me when you need me by your side. If ever you decide, you know I'll be there anytime. 'Cause you're the reason I exist, the reason I'm alive. To catch you when you're falling, to reach you when you're calling.
You loved me more than anyone. You made me who I am. And in the autumn of your years, I'll do the best I can. So call my name and I'll be there, just like you were for me. I'll catch you when you're falling. I'll reach you when you're calling.
If time don't run your way, and if life stops dancing, will you know that in a day I'll be with you? Just call my name. I'll be with you.
I remember he used to tell me stories.
Just call.
Those times were very special.
I'm Paul O'Reilly. I'm talking to Barry Blue today. That song, Call My Name, and your granddaughter's on it. It's very different. It's a good song.
Thank you.
Yeah, really, really good. Part of the new CD. Yeah, okay. Crime to Be Cool is another track on the album that I particularly like. It's very different to that song, Call My Name. It's quite jazzy, isn't it?
I came up with this phrase, it's a crime to be cool. You know, when you see these supermodels and they've got this kind of air and attitude and charisma, and it ended up being a song. So I hope you like it. I really think it's got a vibe to it that I really like.
I got a problem. I got a problem I'd rather not admit. But if you're looking, can't you see who I read? I try to understand what makes you act that way, going over and over again, over and over again. It's hard to realize you've always been the same. But if you love someone, then why make them change? And I've been living on the cutting edge, it's true, going round and around too long. It's a crime that's going on. Because you steal my heart and walk away like nothing in the world. Now you know that just won't do. It's a crime to be that cool. While we're talking about the good and bad, you're killing me with love. I'm a victim, not a fool. It's a crime to be that cool. Yes, it is. Oh, yes, it is. Well, in your defense, I know you've had your troubles too. Keep them to yourself, I'm losing my cool over you. Although I do most anything to make you mine, it's happening over and over again, over and over again. Oh, if I was smart, I'd just forget your name. If I could curse, you'd be the one to blame. 'Cause you steal my heart and walk away like nothing in the world. Now you know but just won't do. It's a crime to be that cool. While we're talking about the good and bad, you're killing me with love. I'm a victim, not a fool. It's a crime to be that cool. Because you steal my heart and walk away like nothing in the world. You know that just won't do. It's a crime to be so cool. Oh yes it is cool. Crime to be so cool. Crime to be so cool.
Well, that's a new song off the album, Crime to Be Cool by Barry Blue. And I thought it might be nice, Barry, to finish our little chat together with a bit of live music, which always, I don't know, live music touches me. It really does. So believe it or not, I've wheeled in my son, Ross, who is he's a producer and songwriter himself, and he's an amazing guitarist. So we thought it might be nice to play a live version of Dancing on a Saturday Night. How do you feel about that?
It's totally unrehearsed.
Totally unrehearsed.
You just hit me with this. You sneaked this up on me.
How do you feel about it?
I don't feel anything about it. I'll try it.
Right, let's have a go. Dancing on a Saturday Night, Barry Blue, live.
Okay. Hey little girl, get your dancing shoes, your gold satin jacket and a silvery blues, and it'll be alright. Dancing on a Saturday night. Oh well, the jukebox playing like a one-man band. It's the only kind of music, girl, we both understand. We're gonna be alright. Dancing on a Saturday night. Well, the roller coaster got to make the most and dance, dance, dance the night away. Helter skelter, maybe I can help. Dance, dance, dance the night away. Oh, my balloon cheating baby, she's the queen of them all. She's the only one who makes me wanna rock and roll. I wanna say goodnight, dancing on a Saturday night. Don't wanna say goodnight, dancing on a Saturday night. Don't wanna say goodnight, dancing on a Saturday night. Oh yeah.
Well, I have to say, Barry, it's been great having you in the studio today.
Yeah.
We've giggled a bit, we've laughed a bit, and it's been lovely to hear about your career. I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
I did actually, yeah. I like talking a lot, but it's really good meeting you, Paul. Enjoyed it.
And we wish you the best with that CD.
Thank you very much. Bye.